Good day yet again, guys. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic, and it is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here yet again. No, you're not crazy. I have so enjoyed hearing people's personal stories that I've finally realized while I've given bits and pieces of my story over time, I've not given you the entire picture of what it's been like, my experience, strength, and hope. So what I'd like to share with you today, if you don't mind, is something I prepared for my church, my recovery service at my church years ago. So I wrote this story long before Big Book Daily. I want to say maybe in 2021 or 2022, I was asked to share my story. And I remember at the time when I was writing it, I was stuck. I was absolutely stuck. I didn't know where to begin, what to say. And finally, it became the day of that Thursday morning. And I was supposed to share my story Thursday evening. Oh, by the way, it's my kids playing in the background. And my wife saying, "Be careful." So who knows what's going on in the other room. But anyway, speaking of my wife, she said to me, "Rob, why don't you just tell the love story between you and God? And just write like you're writing to him." And I thought, wow, okay, I can do that. And God bless my wife. I better save the waterworks for later. But anyway, I haven't actually read this story in quite some time. But yeah, here is my love letter to God. Now, I will mention that I'm going to change the names of some of the people for anonymity's sake. But hopefully, if they're hearing this, they know who they are. These people have been absolutely monumental in my life and instrumental in my sobriety. So with that, here is part of my story. It is a tremendous honor and joy to brag on God and what he has done, what he's doing, and what he's going to do in my life and the lives of those around me. I always loved the promises from the Big Book, that we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. I didn't realize it then, but I certainly realize it now in hindsight. And I am so grateful we have a loving God and a loving shepherd who will leave the 99 and go after the one lost sheep. I won't lie, this testimony was not easy to prepare. I've never done anything quite like this before, and I wasn't sure what to do or what to include or where to begin. I had so much to say, but no idea how to say it. Then my wife told me this morning, just tell the love story between you and God. That's beautiful, and it's exactly what I'll try to do tonight. My name is Rob, and I am an alcoholic. Today, I have no doubt that God has been writing his love story for me since the very beginning. God, I thank you for my childhood, and especially my mom. I had a relatively normal childhood thanks to my mom, who was the rock of our family. I was born in Philadelphia and grew up in South Jersey. Addiction unfortunately ran on both sides of my family. My biological father was a severe addict, and my mom left him when I was just 2 years old. Maybe even younger, and the timeline's a little fuzzy there. She once told me about a night when drug dealers had threatened to harm her and me if my father didn't pay them. So in 87 or 88, my mom made the brave decision to leave that toxic situation. And eventually, she met the man that I grew up calling Dad. And he has passed away, so I will say his name. William Lee. God, I thank you for my dad. When Mom remarried, we moved to Gloucester City, New Jersey. Dad, though not my biological father, treated me like his own son. Even after he and Mom divorced in '93, he continued to be a father to me. I visited him every other weekend, and while he wasn't a man of many words or emotions, I knew he loved me the best way he could. And for that, I'm forever grateful. God, I thank you for showing me what was missing, a relationship with you. Growing up, I struggled with low self-esteem, which became one of the reasons I turned to drinking. I didn't understand why I felt that way, but my self-doubt often became a self-fulfilling prophecy. I believed I was dumb, so I didn't excel in school. I thought I was awkward, so I avoided making close friends. I wasn't athletic, nor was I an academic standout. I did, however, love being outside, playing video games, watching Ninja Turtles, and reading comics. Looking back, I realized I was a textbook introvert before I even knew what that meant. God, I thank you for my grandmother. Even as a child, you planted seeds of faith in my life. My grandfather was one of the most devout Christians I'd ever known. She'd call to tell me about an ice skating competition on TV. For some reason, she thought I loved ice skating. Maybe because I told her I loved hockey. And she always ended the conversation with, "Jesus loves you, Bobby. You're going to be a priest one day. Mom loves you." As a kid, I'd just roll my eyes, but her words always made me smile. Now, as a 39-year-old, I was 35 when I wrote this, I realized that she was praying for me all along. And I often wonder if my faith and my sobriety are a result of her persistent prayers years ago that still live on to this day. God, I thank you for guiding my parents to make the wrong turn. After my parents divorced, my mom and stepdad Randy took care of my sister and me, while Dad had us on the weekends. In 2001, Mom and Randy were looking to build a summer home in the South. One day they made a wrong turn on this winding road, and it eventually took them to this beautiful tiny town, a mountain town, with about 3 traffic lights, and they fell in love with this town. Long story short, we ended up moving to this little town during my junior year. It was a fresh start for me. My grades improved, people welcomed me, I met my best friend, and I even caught the attention of this cute girl who would become my wife, who for some reason chose to sit with nerds like us at lunch. God, I thank you for the grace you showed me, even as a lost and broken teenager. That finally brings me to my drinking, and how you were at work even then. During the summer of 2003, my sister and I were visiting our dad in New Jersey when he suffered a massive heart attack. I'll never forget seeing him in the hospital, so frail and vulnerable in that bed. I held his hand while he slept, and I whispered, "Thank you for being my dad," hoping against hope that he could somehow hear me. I said my final goodbye just in case I never got another chance. That night, while my aunt stayed with us at my dad's house, I went to the basement to be alone and listen to music. While down there, I found a bottle of whiskey on one of Dad's old tool shelves. And for some reason that I can't entirely explain, I thought, why not? I took a few shots, and that warm, comforting feeling started to creep in. Soon I felt great. The music sounded better, my sadness began to melt away, and so I kept drinking. I specifically remember sitting by the laundry room in the basement, half drunk, and praying to a God I wasn't even sure I believed in. Please give me more time with my dad. God, I thank you for answering that prayer. By your grace, Dad pulled through. We were blessed with 13 more years together. After his heart attack, he got a pacemaker and recovered remarkably well. My sister and I visited him as often as we could, and during that time, we made some truly beautiful memories. God, I thank you for saving my soul, and for my wife not giving up on me. Back in the South, I began dating my wife. Well, she wasn't my wife then, but you get the idea. I still don't know what she saw in me, but I'll be forever grateful. Sometimes it feels like some kind of divine trick. One day she just asked me to go to church with her, and I loved her. I would have done anything to keep her, so I said yes. It was a Baptist church, very different from the Catholic service I'd attended in New Jersey. But at the end of the first service, I found myself down on my knees, surrendering my life to my higher power who I call Jesus. I can't fully explain it, whether it was emotion, conviction, or something deeper, but I believed that experience was one of the most real things I've ever felt in my life. God, I thank you for pursuing me when I wasn't pursuing you. While I gave my heart to my higher power, I didn't nurture that relationship. I rarely prayed, I didn't attend church consistently, struggled to read and understand the Bible, and life got busy. After moving south, I turned my grades around with the help of an incredible teacher who encouraged me to go to college. I worked 3 jobs commuting to the university I attended and eventually graduated in 2009. The introverted kid with bad grades who hated school had become a teacher. Go figure. Is that odd or is that God? I landed a 7th grade position in my old town, and I taught there for 5 years while supporting my wife as she earned her master's degree in speech. We got married during this time, and though I loved her as much as I knew how to love anyone, my alcoholism was lurking in the background. God, I thank you for working miracles even in my selfishness. In late 2015, my dad's health took a turn, and he passed away from congestive heart failure. The loss, paired with the stress of a new teaching position, pushed me deeper into alcohol. Drinking became my daily ritual, no longer bringing comfort, but only chasing a fleeting relief. I promised myself and my wife that I'd stop, but I couldn't. And yet you showed us grace. We were told that we couldn't have children, but when we stopped trying, we learned that we were expecting our son. I resolved to quit drinking for him and for my wife. But at this point, no matter how much I wanted to, I couldn't let go of the bottle. In 2018, we were blessed with another miracle, our daughter. I was overjoyed and terrified, knowing that my addiction was out of control. I lied constantly to my wife about my drinking. I hid bottles around the house, only to have her find them and confront me with loving concern. I was making selfish decisions that were destroying my marriage and hurting my family. And every time the guilt consumed me, I drank more to numb the pain, falling into an endless cycle of shame and self-destruction. By October 14th, 2018, everything had come to a breaking point. God, I thank you for giving my wife intuition and for waking me up. It was around 2 or 3 in the morning when my wife woke me. She confronted me with every lie I told to cover up more lies. Her voice trembled. Her words were firm. I love you, but for the safety of our kids, if things don't change, I have no choice but to leave. I am becoming numb, and I am so tired of this. I knew she meant it. Sitting in our kitchen, I looked her in the eyes and swore that I'd do whatever it took to change. But even as I made those promises, I could see it. She didn't believe me. Years of my selfish pattern behavior had eroded her trust. It was one of the most defeating feelings I'd ever experienced. The harsh reality hit me. This was all my fault. I couldn't blame anybody else for the selfish choices I'd made. Choices that had destroyed my marriage. Looking into her weary eyes, I said, I know you don't believe me now, but please, give me time. But at the same time, I was terrified. For 3 or 4 years, I tried to stop drinking on my own, only to fail repeatedly. I knew something had to change. Admitting defeat, I finally surrendered. My willpower wasn't enough to stop drinking, and my life was definitely unmanageable. How dark it is before the dawn. God, I thank you for that first meeting. I won't say his name at anonymity's sake, but someone I knew from recovery became instrumental in helping me take the next step. I'll say he was my first unofficial sponsor. He encouraged me to go to my first AA meeting. Nervous and ashamed, I walked in, unsure of what to expect. Would it be like the movies, people smoking, judging, giving tough love? But what I encountered was so different. The first thing I saw was a smile. I don't remember if I spoke during that meeting, But I do remember listening intently. I don't know if you can tell my son screaming in the next room, it's snowing. I don't remember if I spoke during that first meeting, but I do remember listening intently. And their stories resonated with me. And one thing off script, one thing I remember is them saying, listen for the similarities. And I did. And I heard them loud and clear. God, I thank you for the fellowship and the common bond of AA. I heard those familiar phrases. Keep coming back. Easy does it. One day at a time. But one struck with me. Oh, I guess I did write it. Listen for the similarities. And I did. I heard stories of people hiding alcohol, drinking for confidence, or panicking after blackouts. On the surface, they seemed so different. Doctors, rehab graduates, older men, younger women. But we shared a common bond, the obsession of the mind and the physical allergy to alcohol. For so long, I thought I was alone. That night, I realized I wasn't. God, I thank you for helping me realize that the program works if you work it. For a while, meetings abstained me. But then the old feelings crept back. Guilt over what I'd done to my wife, shame for my actions, and crippling insecurities. I had dreams of my lowest moments, waking up and feeling like a fraud. You don't deserve this life, I tell myself. It's only a matter of time before they leave. God, I thank you for rigorous honesty, confession, and my first unofficial sponsor. Once again, my first unofficial sponsor stepped in. So he was somebody I could confide in. I asked him if I could tell my story, all of it, not 90%, but 100%, including the ugliest, most embarrassing parts. My sponsor listened without judgment. He shared his own story, prayed with me, and encouraged me to keep going. In that moment, the fear had crippled me for so long began to lift. God, I thank you for my wife and her unconditional love. That first year, my wife and I grew together. We prayed more, communicated intentionally. We rediscovered each other, went on walks, dates. I pursued her more. Listened to some Christian podcasts together, had tea time without electronics. These became our new rhythms. And on October 15th, 2019, which was our wedding anniversary and also a year and a day after the lowest moment of my life, she presented me with my 1-year medallion. Seeing the hope in her eyes was one of the greatest moments of my life. But I knew I couldn't take credit for it. God was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. God, I thank you for your guidance on this road of happy destiny. With each step, I've learned that surrender isn't a one-time act. It's a daily choice. Digging deeper into the big book and leaning on God's strength has transformed my life. Today I'm committed to this journey, grateful for His grace and the people He's placed along the way. God, I thank you for my official sponsor. In hindsight, I should have asked someone to sponsor me as soon as I started attending meetings. One day I noticed a fellow Yankee at the meetings that I always respected. He was a little older than me, and I just happened to be there the day he raised his hand to volunteer as a sponsor. And I knew I had to ask him before anyone else did. Funny enough, months later, my trusted friend told me that his own sponsor had encouraged him to step up as a sponsor that very day. His sponsor reassured him that God would send someone his way, and that someone was me. God, I thank you for allowing me to cross paths with my friend. He's like the cool, easygoing big brother I never had. Even when the church doors closed during the pandemic, my sponsor walked me through the big book, line by line, page by page, and shared his experiences. We met right in the church parking lot. He challenged me to do 5 things daily: pray, read the big book, go to a meeting, call my sponsor, and help another drunk. When we did the third step prayer, my sponsor knelt with me, and together we prayed, God, I offer myself to you, to build with me and do with me as you will. Relieve me the bondage of self that I may better do your will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of your power, your love, and your way of life. May I do your will always. That prayer's been the cornerstone of every morning since. It shifts my focus from myself to God's will and plan, a powerful reminder of His guidance. My sponsor also guided me through the fourth step inventory and the fifth step, helping me unload years of accumulated baggage. Burning that list afterwards was cathartic, a symbolic release that truly helped me heal. I no longer feel ashamed about my rock bottom, but I have been taught to always remember it, to reflect on the chaos of my life before sobriety, and recognize what God is doing in my life now. We prayed the seventh step prayer together on our knees. I made a list of those I had harmed and began making direct amends, especially to my wife. My ongoing prayer is that God strengthens me to make a living amends to her every single day of my life. God, I thank you for my marriage. My wife never throws my past back in my face. She has the humility to acknowledge her own struggles and focus on growth rather than blame. Through God's grace, our marriage has transformed from a contract relationship to a covenant relationship. We've grown exponentially closer because we're both striving to serve God to the best of our ability. God, I thank you for my friends and the wisdom that they've shared. No man is an island. Countless people in the rooms have shared their experience, strength, and hope with me. My AA dad, my dear friend and mentor, well, he's been like a father to me. He's one of the funniest and most genuine people I know. One of his greatest lessons was to look up, to see God's beauty all around me. Before I met him, I walked with the head down. He would correct me in a sailor-like way, saying, "Head up, Rob." But now I see the world differently, always looking for reasons to be grateful. Two other friends helped me to combat self-hatred. One encouraged me to write and recite daily affirmations. I am God's beloved son. I am forgiven. I am being made whole each and every day. I am the branch. He is the vine. Over time, these truths have taken root in my heart. Another friend offered a poignant perspective. He asked me to imagine my son or daughter sitting on the edge of their bed crying because they hated themselves. How would I feel as their father? I feel crushed. How much more does our Heavenly Father love us? God, I thank you for the practical program that lasts a lifetime. My sponsor and I complete steps 10, 11, and 12 together every day, because these are lifetime steps, and I treasure their daily practice. Through these steps, I've experienced a spiritual awakening. Drinking was but a symptom. Fear, selfishness, and self-centeredness were the deeper issues. But I no longer have to live in fear. Instead, I have serenity. Living these principles in all my affairs is a lifelong endeavor. But I've come to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Slowly but surely, I'm beginning to grasp serenity and know peace. My outlook on life has changed, and I now trust that God will continue to do for me what I could not do for myself. God, I thank you for the love story you are still writing. Thank you for your grace, my sobriety, my family, and for the hope you placed in my heart. Amen. And finally, guys, I would love to hear from you guys. I love to hear your sober stories, your experience, strength, and hope. The only reason I did this one is because I hadn't heard from anybody in a while. But you've heard enough about me, for crying out loud. Lord knows you have. I would love to hear about your stories, because everyone has a different story, yet each one is a miracle in itself. So if you ever decide you want to write in, email bigbookdaily@gmail.com. Make sure you make it clear you want me to share it on the podcast, and I'll keep your anonymity intact. So I'd love to hear from you. But my friends, if we are given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.